Calling to order our 7:30 hearing of the Board of Appeals. It's February 27th in the John Cronin Conference Room. This is upon the application of Daniel Barron, dated December 17, on file with the Board for variances from the terms of Section 6B3 and 6D1 of the Milton zoning bylaw. Mr. Barron is requesting to build a 6-foot by 26-foot roofed porch at the front and an 18-foot by 20-foot by 2.5-story addition at the rear of the house at 80 Waldeck Road. A plot plan dated June 26, 2017 shows the front porch to be built at a distance of 10.7 feet from the front property line, and the 2-story addition to be built at a distance of 21.9 feet from the rear property line. The bylaw requires that new buildings or new portions of buildings be set back a minimum distance of 20 feet from the front property line, except that no building need be set back a distance of greater than 20% of the average depth of the lot. The average depth of this lot is 82.95 feet, therefore the required front setback distance is 16.59 feet. The bylaw requires that, with respect to rear yards, new buildings or new portions of buildings be set back a minimum distance of 30 feet from the rear property lines, except that no building need be set back from the rear property line a distance of greater than 30% of the average depth of the lot. The average depth of this lot is 82.9 feet, therefore the required setback is 24.7 feet. The property is located in a Residence C zoning district, all as set forth in the application. My name is Jeffrey Mullen. I'll be acting as the chairman for the hearing, and with me is Kathleen O'Donnell and Teresa Chiano, members of the Board of Appeals. Welcome to the Board of Appeals, Mr. Barron, and see is with his counsel, Mrs. McKettrick. Welcome back to the Board of Appeals. Welcome to the Board of Appeals. Let me first. Laura, welcome. Let me first read into the record what we have. We have the application. We have a letter from Mr. Prondak, the building commissioner, to Mr. Barron, setting forth most of what I read, describing the improvements. We have a letter from Mrs. McKettrick explaining the reasons for the variance and the justification, which I'm sure she'll elaborate in her testimony. We have a plot plan from Antonio Land Surveyors, Inc., showing the improvements in the property, along with a mortgage inspection plan and some various plans that accompany Mrs. McKettrick's letter. We also have a deed from Joseph and Ann Barron to Mr. Barron of the property in 2015, and other information about the property. A second letter from Mrs. McKettrick and a list of the abutters who were notified about this hearing. Mr. Barron, Mrs. McKettrick, Mrs. Barron, welcome to the Board of Appeals. How can we help you?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The Barrons filed their building permit application in September. Took until December before they had a response, but they were expecting that they would be denied, and they were talking to me at that time about how to apply to the Board of Appeals. So the situation is that this is a house that Mr. Barron grew up in, and it's a modest-sized Dutch colonial-style house on a pre-existing non-conforming lot of about 5,000 square feet. So except for a very slight non-conforming setback in the front to the existing porch, the house is conforming as it sits on the lot now. But because of the size of the lot, in order to add on to the house, some relief is necessary. And the plan that the Barrons have is to construct a 2-story addition to the rear of the home and to construct a 1-story roofed porch to the front of the home. The background is, first of all, that the Barrons have 3 children, and so they need more space. But they also have 1 child who is deaf, and they need to locate the child's bedroom on the same floor and close to the parents. So that's what they would be able to do with this design and with this addition. And they also need the front porch, not only because it will make the house look better, it'd be a nice place to sit in the summer and so forth, but it's also a place where their son can wait for his transportation, because he's picked up and brought back to the house every day. And he wears hearing aids, and they're not supposed to get wet. So it's actually a matter of safety that they have the porch available if they can possibly do that. When they first undertook or decided that they wanted to try to do that. They did talk to all of their neighbors. Everybody was supportive. That hasn't changed. The Barrons were out of their house for a while because they had a mold problem while we were waiting for this hearing to be scheduled. They are back in the house now, but several family members have asthma. So that created a complication just in terms of their being around while they were waiting for this hearing, but they are back in the house. The current house has, as you can see, and these, by the way, are much better, clearer copies of the plot plan. The one I gave you is kind of dark and it's hard to see. And in addition to that, I also brought with me, Mrs. Barron provided this. This is a statement that she wrote primarily about the porch, but there are color photos in here showing the existing house, the way the porch will look from the front, and then photos of houses in the area that have similar porches. So there's one copy there for everyone on the board, and I think there's one for the file. The house was constructed in 1927. As I already said, it's a non-conforming lot. There's a shed that was constructed much more recently near the rear lot line of the property. And the building commissioner, has determined that the setbacks are less than the ordinary residency setbacks because of the size of the lot, 16.59 feet from the front and 24.7 feet from the rear. However, and the side setback is 10 feet, and none of this proposal violates any side setbacks. In fact, the addition is a little bit narrower than the house in the back. So they need to increase the size of the house. They have on the first floor currently a living room, kitchen with dining room, half bath. On the second floor, there are 3 bedrooms, full bath and small office. I think if it's anything like, it looks just like my house, that some of the bedrooms are pretty small on the second floor. The addition will provide a family room on the first floor and an additional bedroom and bathroom on the second floor off the current office space. And this will provide 1 bedroom for each child and 1 bedroom for the parents, and it will allow the parents' bedroom to be located on the same floor as the children. They have 1 child who is deaf who needs to be close to them at night in their bedroom. On a lot this size, to do any kind of addition, you're likely to require some zoning relief. All the lots on Waldeck Road look like they're about the same size, so, it's a problem that anyone in this neighborhood would have. As far as the 1-story roofed porch in the front, that's an aesthetic improvement because it's only a porch, and it would make the house more attractive. It certainly has not created any questions or concerns among neighbors. It happens that all the shrubbery in front of the house has died because it was some kind of infestation. And so right now, you can see from the pictures, the front of the house is pretty bare. So that front area that's bare is going to be filled in partly by this porch, and then there will be setback area that they can landscape. You also have, I think we have conceptual building plans in here, as we normally do in these applications. So that shows you what the house would look like from the front, the rear, and the sides, and also shows you what the porch would look like. The building inspector has reviewed the plans. There is no issue with the height of the house. As it happens, it was a house built in the 1920s, so it's allowed to have a little bit higher finished first floor height than zoning allows otherwise. And this house is conforming, and the new addition will be on the same level. Finally, the exterior finish of the addition will match the existing house. There are generous side setbacks on each side of the rear addition, 19.7 feet on the left side, 27.3 feet on the right side. And that pretty much summarizes the application.
Okay, thank you. Did the applicants have anything they want to add to the board? You don't have to.
No, I did provide like a closer up, because I know.
Yeah,
those are
it's great.
kinda small. On this page, if you can see, that's kind of what the porch will look like.
Yeah, thank you.
Unfortunately, when she said, our bushes died, we tried, we saved it.
You had mold, you had bushes, there's a lot going on at this place.
We were able to save, that one and the one are holly, but the other ones are just awful. And so when we ripped them out, we said, this big long mulch pile, you know, it just kind of fit, so, you know, that's where it first, you know, the idea first
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marion's covered all the points. I mean, I have arguments, whatever, but I would.
Everything's fine.
Wait
Yeah.
to see what you guys think.
We'll have some questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Teresa, do you have questions of the applicants? Mrs. McKettrick?
So the back, it's a two-story addition, but it's thinner than the current home.
Correct.
Okay. And it's going to, can you say again what, it's going to have a bedroom and a bathroom upstairs, and then what's
Family room down.
family room downstairs?
We
Okay.
actually like don't have a dining room right now, it's like a table and chairs in our kitchen. So like the five of us, you know, sit around the table, but it's not really like, I wouldn't necessarily call it a dining area, it's kind of just within our kitchen. So it will give us like a place to actually have. It may be like another person to come over to.
Yeah, I mean, we really need the bedroom to be close to our son anyway, and something has to go below it, so.
Just looking at my notes. Okay, no, that's my question. I don't have any other questions.
Kathleen?
Do we have to deal with this shed at all?
The shed will be gone.
Yeah, the shed's
We're
coming down.
we're getting rid of it.
Because I noticed that that wasn't,
Well, so the
It's not
space that's
conforming.
underneath what.
oh, yeah, would be where you would put the stuff.
Yeah,
Like
we're
that
gonna
stuff
get some
that's
storage there, so we're gonna remove the shed
And
and
we'd also
eliminate
be
it.
able to give our kids, you know, a decent lawn back
Right.
there and not be, you know.
No, that would be good. Yeah, and I see that, you know, other houses in the neighborhood have various and sundry sizes of front porches.
Some of them are like on
The entire front.
right,
Yeah.
like on the street.
Yeah, a lot of the houses have the same sort of porch that,
Well, you sort of expect on a Dutch colonial, you do expect to have a porch more than what you've got right now. So
These, are
typical
some of
architectural
the,
design of a Dutch colonial tends to
the
have.
other houses on the road, these are all on
Yeah.
Upper Waldeck Road,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
And then there's some from Reservation too.
Mhm.
This makes me want to have a porch.
All right, so you said, Marion, you contacted, the applicants contacted the abutters. Can we drill down on that? What does that mean to us? We specifically talked to the people who are on all sides of this property?
So the,
Most-
91 reservation?
We-
Back?
yeah, the Grealish is behind us, the Collins in front of us,
Collins in front of you on Waldeck?
yes.
Is that 70, is that 87?
I'm not
I
familiar with
think
the
it's
number.
81.
There's 75, 81, yes, 75 and then 81.
Yes.
They're directly across the street.
75,
What about on the left and the right of you? 76 Waldeck?
yeah, Dottie's.
Oh, left and right.
86 Waldeck?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is your testimony that you've contacted and received approvals of this plan from all of your butters?
Well, we've been talking to them about it for a long time, like, they all think it's a great idea that no one's ever said, you know, we were telling them. like,
That's a
"Oh,
yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as we know, yeah.
Can we'll talk about the porch. Is the porch there's no basement under the porch, right?
No,
It's gonna be shielded?
Yes.
So it'll be like some type of, what do I want to say?
Lattice.
A lattice is some type of treatment. It'll be grounded in footings in the front?
Whatever the building
Typical
code
footings. And in the
requires.
back, is there a basement
No, well, there's a storage area.
underneath?
Yeah, it'd be like a garage, but it's not a car garage, we couldn't get a car in there, but just something for storage, because we're gonna eliminate the shed.
Yeah, okay.
currently is there a basement?
I mean, underneath
No, in the
underneath the addition.
Oh, no, right.
There'd be a storage area.
Okay. And so, it was just for the record, I want to make sure that, the ad was maybe a little bit confusing. On the front yard setback, the math is 16.59, and you've got 10.7. Is that right?
It's going to be, the new porch would be 10.7
Yeah,
feet
yeah.
back. So we're asking for relief
Yeah,
to
between those.
allow that
yeah.
from the 16.
And in the rear, it's 24.7 and 21.9.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So I just wanted to establish for the record what the actual math was and the extent of the variances being requested. Okay, I have no further questions. Do the members of the board have further questions?
No.
Let me ask if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the application. Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to have questions or speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none. Is there any more testimony being offered by the applicant at this time? No. Any questions of the board? We're going to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and debate the merits of the application in accordance with the open meeting law. Mrs. O'Donnell.
Mrs.
Ms. O'Donnell. Ms. O'Donnell. Just speak about the...
I didn't know.
Speak about... Sorry.
It's all right.
Kathleen.
It's just funny. I like the, I mean, it's sort of understanding that the additions are actually narrower than the existing house. So it reduces the impact, I think, on the neighbors. I'm happy to see the shed go, and I'd probably have that be a condition. Because I don't like to have the loss of the open space.
It's my condition.
It's definitely going, yeah, we want the yard.
Yeah, and so I don't have any other.
Teresa.
Therese.
Therese.
You were 2 for 2 today.
Up tonight.
So we
It's
just
a
call
nice
him
name,
Joe.
just not mine.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a minimal impact. I agree with the shed, and I'm in support of it.
I too, I'll vote with my colleagues. I like the I like the proposal a lot. I think the building is much more handsome than it was. I like the improvement a lot. It's going to be great for you. And I think the application was great, and I thank you for the photographs. It's always very helpful. As well, I think people are familiar with the building. We may be not as familiar with the neighborhood as you are. We're not there all the time. So it's helpful to see it in context, especially under the standard of the statute. So I think that the application meets the standard of the statute and is consistent with the type of relief that the board has customarily given. It looks like a handsome improvement, and I'm happy to support it. All in favor of the variance as requested, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor? All opposed? Congratulations, you have your variance.
Thank you very much.
Now, in accordance, so our procedure is it's going to take a few weeks, a couple of weeks to have this written, and you coordinate with Bev. With Bev, and then there'll be a 20-day appeal period. So it'll be filed, it'll be a 20-day appeal period. We'll give you the variance, and you go down to Norfolk County Registry of Deeds in Dedham and have it recorded, and it'll run with the land. And you'll be in good shape. And the only other condition we'll want to let you know about is the improvements must be constructed within 1 year of the date of the variance issuing. So you want to get that built this spring or summer or fall, okay? Good luck to you.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, who's taking this off my hands?
You want me to take that one?
Kathleen. Okay. We'll call to order our second hearing of the night. This is the 7:45 hearing upon the application of Christopher and Shayla.
Shayla, yes, perfect.
It's been a tough night, and that's Shayla I can handle. Shayla Foley O'Brien, dated January 8th, 2019, on file with the board for a variance from the terms of section 6C1 side yards. The applicants proposed to build a 2-story addition with a mudroom connector at the existing house at 68 Meredith Circle. The applicant's residence is located on a 29,153 square foot lot in a Residence C zoning district. The existing garage is non-conforming at 5 feet from the side lot line. The variance is required for the existing garage setback because new construction will create one residential structure comprised of the house, addition, and garage, thereby creating a violation of section 6C1, which requires a 5-foot setback. All is set forth in the application. My name is Jeffrey Mullen. I'll be acting as a chairman. With me is Kathleen O'Donnell and Therese Chiano, board members. I see that Mrs. McKettrick has joined us. I'll ask the applicants, the O'Briens, to join us as well. Welcome to the Board of Appeals. We'll read in for the record that as I did the last time, by the way, people should know that this hearing is being recorded, and a recording of this will be retained by the board. It's also being televised on CNN. I have the application. I have a letter from a three-page letter from Mrs. McKettrick. I have a denial letter from Mr. Prondak, the building commissioner, explaining the reason for the variance. A plot plan showing the irregularity and irregular size and shape of the premises, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And then I've got some plans showing the improvements along with some supporting information related to the title of the premises. Mrs. McKettrick and applicants, welcome to the Board of Appeals. How can we help you?
Thank you. So we're here tonight actually because of just one issue, but it sounds like a long, complicated application because of the denial letter, and I'll explain each of the things that are discussed in that letter. But the issue is that the existing two-bay garage on this lot is only 5 feet from the side lot line. This is a residence C zone, so you need an 8-foot setback for an accessory building and a 10-foot setback for the house. What the O'Briens propose is to join the garage with the house, with a connector and their 2-story addition that they want to put on the back of their house. When you join the house to the garage, it all becomes the house. And so not only was the garage non-conforming anyway in its setback, it's also non-conforming. It now creates a non-conforming portion of the house. The new addition and the connector are conforming in terms of their setback. But the existing garage, now that it's joined to the house, is non-conforming, and it would require a variance for them to join the house to the garage. So that's the issue that we're here for. We're here for a variance to allow that setback, which is actually a setback in an existing structure. It's not being changed. The house, however, is on a 29,153 square foot lot, which is much bigger than it is required to be in this residence district. And the required size is 7,500 square feet. The lot is a very unusual shape. It's sort of a trapezoid. It has frontage on Meredith Circle, as you can see from the plot plan, but it's just a, conforming frontage, a little curved section. The rest of the lot is a lot bigger as it goes towards the rear. At the rear, there's open land, connects to a large undeveloped area owned by Milton Academy, and if you continued along it, you'd eventually reach some of the buildings of Milton Academy. The right side of the lot slopes down sharply to the center. The rear area in the back, right on the edge, is occasionally wet. It's something that we're looking at separately. The existing house and garage were constructed closer to the left front of the lot, and probably the topography as well as the slope of the land was one of the reasons that was the case. But if you go down Meredith Circle, where this house is located, the setback of the house and the way it's sited on the lot is very similar to all the other houses on Meredith Circle. So the applicants want to build a 2-story addition, and they would like to create a new mudroom entrance between the garage and the house. They would move the entrance to the garage to the side. So they're going to slightly relocate their driveway in the back, and this is all shown on the plot plan. You can see the existing driveway and the proposed location for the driveway. The addition itself, we've given you conceptual building plans. It'll house a family room and part of a renovated kitchen, so part of this plan is to renovate the kitchen on the first floor, and a master bedroom and a bathroom on the second floor. The garage is a little bit unusual because it not only has an area for parking, it has a very small caretaker apartment space. And the O'Briens do intend to continue to use that as caretaker space, and that is allowed under our bylaws, and you don't need a special permit to do that. But that became an issue when we brought this application to the building inspector because he wanted to inspect that space and to find out how they plan to use it. So we've gone through that conversation with him. The O'Briens, actually, they both are employed full-time. Mrs. O'Brien works at her home. She has children of
13, 11, and 9.
Right, so she definitely, at times, will use an employee to provide transportation to the children, be home when they come home from school, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a very good arrangement for them. It isn't part of our variance application, but it's important to understand that that's an existing use. The extra space, well, first of all, the house is pretty, conventional 2-story house. I guess it's considered historic now, given the standards we've promulgated in our bylaws. It's really attractive inside. It has a lot of natural woodwork. So this is a house that it would be a shame to cut up too much in the interior in order to create extra space. Adding on to the back is a very nice way to do it architecturally. And like many of the applications that you see, the O'Briens are also looking for extra space for their family. I filed a plot plan, I filed conceptual building plans. I talked a bit about why this lot is unusual. That would be one of the criteria for granting a variance. The needs of the family, the growing family, are the other reason. And that pretty much summarizes the application.
Questions? Therese?
I don't think so.
Kathleen?
No, I mean, it's an interesting layout of the lot.
Mhm.
Makes you wonder whether the house predates the subdivision.
It certainly predates some of the houses in this, yes, you're right, it may have been one of the earlier ones. Trying to say, I have the year it was built in.
1925.
All right, 25, yeah.
So at the finished condition, will it appear as if this was the existing home, all uniform?
From the front, yes.
How about from the side?
Well, the side of the house will look the same, but there will be an addition on the
No, but it'll
back.
be repainted, the shingles will
Oh,
be
I'm
the
sorry.
same roof, same color.
Absolutely.
Same,
Yeah,
same size
everything.
shingles, they're extra large
Yeah,
shingles.
they're
all
extra large,
continue
yeah,
that.
so.
Yeah. And is there any modifications to the premises that you're attaching it to?
Just reorienting the garage, the opening to
Just-
the
Sorry,
garage.
Marion mentioned
So
that.
closing
Just the
off
garage
the side
doors.
where currently, so it opens basically to our kitchen right now. So we'll be changing it, just changing where the doors are.
I see. And I know that you said, Marion, that we know where the garage, where the driveway is, but I don't see it on this plot plan. Do you have another drawing?
This is
On the
you see the
assessor's
dotted
plan that
line
you've
where
got?
it says, you go in the existing drive, and there's a dotted line showing
Yeah, I
the
gave that.
approximate line of the existing driveway.
Oh, do I
I
have
don't
that?
know if they have that one. There we go.
You brought the architect?
Sorry about
and
that, I brought extra copies.
The architect, you seen the bullpen? Is that the deal?
The architect,
Only
yes.
when needed.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
He's a frequent flyer. He has season tickets. He's sitting there saying nothing, and I was wondering when you were gonna bring him up. Where's the rink?
Rick is in there.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of in open area.
It was a tough year for the rink.
That's a good one.
Doing pretty good?
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
We've had a lot of cold weather.
And no snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the rink behind the proposed drive, or is it in the middle of the proposed drive?
No, behind.
It's behind it.
In
Well,
the yard.
And we take it down
It's
every year.
approximate.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
We have
I don't know
a
about your rink?
we have a good rink manager who lives right
you do.
nearby.
I know you do. Let's talk about your neighbors. How much, I know Meredith Circle is a pretty tight-knit community. How much conversation have you had with the neighbors?
Quite a bit, and especially with the neighbors on either side of us, so that they're aware. We've walked it with them. They're very familiar with the plans. They're comfortable with it.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask, how about Milton Academy?
We've not spoken Milton Academy about it.
The,
It's all open.
yeah. The, let me ask if there's anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the application. Architect? He's good. I was asked if there's anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to the application. Okay, hearing none. None in both cases, for the record. Unless the applicant has something that they'd like to add, we're going to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and debate the merits of the application.
So is it?
Yeah.
We're all set, thank you.
I'm in favor.
Kathleen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they already have this existing one story, and there's already a garage, so we're really not talking about adding a whole lot. And sort of, if you're looking from the street, you're not even going to see the existing gap that they're filling in. So that I don't think it has an impact on the
Yeah.
neighbor so much. But we didn't get anything, we didn't get a letter or anything from the person on the other side.
No, the testimony was that they've spoken to that person and that person is in favor, and we've got
And
evidence
person
that
got
they've
notice,
been
yeah,
notified.
right.
So I think
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
you know, I like it
It's
too.
okay.
I think it's a clever solution to a space, what is a space issue, without doing modifications to the quality, to the home, the type of home, which you want to do, especially in this neighborhood, if we're thinking about conforming to the general environs. As well as a little bit of a technicality with the bylaw, given the fact that this is really a connection to an existing premises and you're not exacerbating. In other words, the improvements are not any closer than the current improvements. So I'm going to support the application as well. Ask for a vote of my colleagues on the variance.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yep.
Congratulations, you have your variance.
Thank you.
And just like the prior application, there'll be a period of time when the board will put the application, the variance together, provide it to Bev. Mrs. McKetrick will work with Beverly on finalizing the variance. There'll be a 20-day appeal period. You record it at the registry, it'll run with the land. You'll have 1 year to construct the improvements, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
All right,
welcome.
thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah. To the next.
Okay.
You taking tips, is that what's going on here?
Are you just observing for, are you practicing? What is, I know you are. It's great to see you. You could stay at home and watch it on television.
I don't get cable.
Of course you don't. For the record, Mr. Gray is a member of the board, so it's good to see him. I'm gonna call to order. I think that might all be on television now, that little sidebar. We'll call to order our third hearing, the 8 o'clock hearing of the Board of Appeals upon the application of Sean and Jessica Perot? Perot? Dated January 11, on file with the board for variances from the terms of Section 6G3, miscellaneous provisions, and Section 7K, parking in the front setback area of the bylaw. The applicants are requested to maintain the existing driveway, which has recently been expanded to 28 feet in width at their residence at 305 Central Avenue. A plot plan shows that the driveway by itself now covers 37.3% of the front yard setback area, and in combination with the walkway now covers 44% of the front setback. Section 6G3 of the bylaw limits the total amount of paved or impervious area to no more than 40% of the front setback area. And Section 7K limits the total amount of driveway area within the front setback area to 30%. The driveway expansion as proposed violates both provisions of the bylaw. The premises is located in a Residence C zoning district. My name is Jeffrey Mullen. With me is Kathleen O'Donnell and Therese Chiano, members of the board. I have the application. I have a letter from Mr. Prondak, a plot plan from Antonio Land Surveyors, a couple of plans of the premises, some information on the title, and a list of the abutters. I've also got a couple of letters here, four letters. Just in the interest of time, I'm not going to read all the letters. If they become important to the hearing, I'll enter them into the record, but I'll state who they're from and the nature of the letters so that people have a sense of what the letters say. The members of the board have received these letters from Ms. Sutton earlier as they were received, so we're aware of it. So this first letter is dated February 16. John Godleski?
I believe so, yes.
Godleski from 304 Central Avenue. Dear Chairman Mullen, I write in support of the application of Sean and Jessica Perot. There's no adverse aesthetic impact. I'd like to add the expanded driveway actually enhances the safety of the neighborhood, as Mr. Perot is a Boston K-9 officer with an assigned patrol car. The patrol car is usually parked on the portion of the driveway requiring the variances. Thank you for your consideration. Second letter is from Timothy and Megan Hart at 317 We'd like to note that Perros have been and continue to be wonderful neighbors. We read in support of the application, mentioning that your role on the Boston PD. That's from Timothy and Megan Hart. The third one is from Timothy and Debbie Ford at 299. Similar letter. All these letters are different letters, by the way. It's not a form letter. That also in support, also mentioning the cruiser. And the last letter is from Brian Nash. In support. Is there a fifth letter?
Nope, just the 4.
In support, as a next door neighbor, there isn't anybody somebody could ask for. This is too embarrassing to read. It's a nice letter for you. Hartfield, we moved in around the same time. My property borders the area in question. I do not have a second thought when the extended driveway to allow room for the cruiser to park. I support the request for appeal. So just a sense that people have, the Perros have a support of their abutters.
Your neighbors really like you.
Mr. Perro, welcome to the Board of Appeals. How can we help you?
I just want to start off by thank you very much, and I apologize that I even did this unknowingly of the bylaw. I went ahead and did it when we moved here a little over 2 years ago. My wife, my 2 children, now we have 3. And like some of the letters have said, we have 2 personal cars as well as I have a take-home work vehicle. So at the time, we didn't really have anywhere to put it. I was kind of just pulling it up on, which was at the time some grass and some bushes, and it was getting run down with the grass. It was turning into mud and all that. It didn't really look good. So I figured I would just kind of extend my driveway a little bit, just a little strip of driveway down to going into my backyard. When I thought about doing that, I directly contacted my neighbor Brian Nash, who wrote that letter. It would directly affect him because of where he is, and he told me he had no problem in me doing it. So I went ahead and did it.
Nash is on the left, looking at your house.
Yes, if you're looking at my house, they're on the left, so
Okay.
it was directly in line with them, and he, they told me they had no problem with it. So I went ahead and did it again, unknowingly that there was a bylaw in Milton with that. I would have went a different avenue if I had known that. So once this came up, I was kind of caught off guard, but I try to go through the right avenues and go the right way this point on. I talked to all the neighbors around me, directly beside me, who it affects the most, and again, they were all in support of it. So,
How about anybody on Standish?
no.
When you say around you, people across Central Avenue as well? I see there's one letter from 304.
Yeah, John lives across, and next to John is Shayna and Dave. I think he said he was going to write a letter, but I guess he didn't.
So you have 2 cars, and you're bringing home the cruiser, so there's 3 cars. There's usually 3 cars there every night?
Yeah.
Is any car in the garage?
We don't have a garage. The garage was done over by the previous owner.
So is there tandem parking here?
Yes, it's 3 across.
Oh, 3 across. Okay. And all of the 3 across, they fit there, huh?
Yeah, well, with the new driveway, yeah.
Do you have 4 cars there?
If you pull the car all the way down, you could probably fit 4, but we don't.
You have a small backyard.
It's a pretty good size.
Yeah, and then there's a hill, right? There's a
No.
But it goes up, right? Standish is up a little higher?
Oh, Standish, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, colleagues, have any questions, Kathleen?
Well, I can see from the pictures and stuff and from driving by that used to be the garage, the little place that you've got over on the left-hand side.
Yeah, that
Clearly
yeah,
was the garage.
Yes.
Because it's the garages and all the other houses that are in the neighborhood. And remind me why you went as far back as you did.
From
From the street.
sidewalk area?
Yeah, you went all the way back to the side of the house. Why is the driveway as long as it is?
From the sidewalk to the end of my,
Yeah.
To the back.
going towards my backyard.
Along the rear.
Next to the garage.
Or the side
Next to the
yard.
old garage.
Yeah. Why was
just-
the driveway so long?
I just thought it would look better if it was just one, instead of half driveway and then grass all the way down.
Because you're not pulling a car in, all the way in that.
No. I just thought with the grass and the bushes, I just thought it would look better if it was one
I
solid
mean,
piece.
because since the issue is the lot coverage, you would have been in better position,
It's the front
right?
coverage, actually.
The front, not the
Yeah,
side?
yeah. Notwithstanding your concern about the runoff, right?
Oh, just in general,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's impervious
Planet,
surface, that's
the
always a
planet.
problem, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my only question, why it had to go back that far.
And I saw, similar to the, so one of the abutters had mentioned that the way that you had done it was to lean into your property rather than to go into the street. Is that accurate? Or is that just a detail that he decided to add?
I don't know.
Okay. He said that he had, that you had done it in such a way so
Oh, is
that it
that
would-
John?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he knew more about it than I did. You know, like, I think he said he majored in college with this. When he gave me the letter, he explained it to me that, he said he knew a lot about this stuff and that I wasn't violating any sort of,
The pitch of the driveway
Yes.
goes towards your lawn and plantings rather than to run off into the
Exactly.
street. Okay. So inadvertently, you did
Yeah.
it right.
I should have noted that that letter did say that John Godleski was a landscape designer, a faculty member at the Department of Environmental Health at the Harvard T.H. Chan School for 39 years, so I was actually looking for that. I had read that letter, and I was looking for that reference, which is why I thought there was a fifth letter, so it's good to have that in the record, thank you. Let me ask if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in support of the application. Yes, sir.
I am
Well, approach the board, and just provide us with your name and address for the record.
Tim Ford. I live at 299 Central Ave. Lived there since,
They're going to want to hear you. If you just move that little
Sorry.
microphone.
I'm Tim Ford, born and raised in Milton. Lived in my home on Central Ave for the last 22 years, maybe. I have 3 kids. The Piros moved in, and they've been fantastic neighbors. You know, Sean has his take-home cruiser. Rather than, you know, pull it up on the grass, he did what he did, and I tend to agree with him that he didn't do it on purpose, you know. He just didn't know any better. And he talked to Brian, our neighbor, the abutter on the opposite side, who would be most affected by this, in my opinion. And they didn't have any problem, but they've been nothing but great neighbors. I feel very comfortable having a Boston Police Cruiser parked there. Not that that's, you know, that's just like a added bonus for me. But, so, I'm fully in favor of it, so.
Let me ask you, would this be a different application if it wasn't a cruiser?
If it weren't a cruiser, I don't think I would be against it, especially with the kind of neighbors these people are. I mean, they got 3 great kids. They've been fantastic. So if it was just for another car, it wouldn't really affect me because the driveway, as I say, is on Mr. Nash's side. But I don't think I would have any problem with it.
Yeah. The reason I ask is, we don't want to establish a precedent of creating, a lot of pavement in people's front yards. I think that the fact pattern, while he has a lot of support and friends in the neighborhood, that's great, but we don't give out variances based on relationships. We give out variances because they're entitled to the variance, and I think a lot of the facts here have to do with the fact that there's a work car involved. And he has a mandatory requirement to take the cruiser home.
Right.
It's a little bit different, so that's why I asked the question.
Okay.
Yeah. But I appreciate that testimony and the support. Is there
Okay.
anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Ford?
I'd like to see it be approved, but
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Does anybody else wish to speak in support of the application?
So I'm Brian Nash. I live at 311 Central. I live next to him. I'm on the property that is right next to the driveway, and it's just like Sean said. He came to me. He said, "Hey, I want to do this because the the grass is getting all chewed up and everything, and he's like, I'm just gonna go right along the property line. I'm like, that makes sense to me, it's perfect. The cruiser's out there more often. Not gonna lie, Central Ave is a very fast road, and so people see a police car there, then they do tend to slow down. It's a lot safer for my daughters and all the other kids that are in the neighborhood, so it is very helpful, and I'm in full support of the variance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nash. That's it? Oh, anybody else wish to speak in support? Mr. Gray,
Nick Gray, 217.
welcome to the Board of
Thank you.
Appeals.
217 Hinckley Road. I live 3 doors down to the right. My house is on the corner of Hinckley and Central Avenue.
What number are you?
217. I want to speak in support of the application. To the question of the length of the driveway, I would suggest that the portion that was added, the natural stopping place for that driveway is sort of where the fence is. I think there's a fence in your yard. Yeah, and if it stopped short of that, sort of towards the front of the what used to be the garage, it would look odd. It would leave a gap of sort of, I don't know how many feet of grass, but it would look strange. So I think it actually improves the look of it a bit to have it the length that it is, the length that it was constructed. It looks like it fits in. I certainly have no objection to having the coverage exceed the limit in this case. We occasionally get some water in that particular area when it rains extremely heavily, but it's not, it's extremely rare. And I don't foresee the additional coverage of this material causing any hardship for myself or my neighbors, and I certainly don't think it detracts from the overall, livability of the neighborhood having this extra strip of pavement there. So I would ask the board to consider granting the variance on the 2 conditions noted in the application.
Which were?
Coverage area and,
Oh.
right? Weren't there 2?
The reasons.
The reasons. You're looking for 2.
I thought you were
There are
asking
2
for, I thought you were
No,
going to
no,
cite the
the
conditions.
the 2 things.
The rationale.
Yeah.
What do you say about the cruiser?
I mean, certainly doesn't hurt having a Boston police cruiser in the neighborhood. I don't know that it actually makes anybody slow down because it's not a Milton cop, but regardless, it.
Question is whether or
yeah.
not it's to permit a third car or a cruiser.
Well, certainly the fact that Mr. Perro is required to have the cruiser for his job, it would be a hardship for him if he did not have the ability to bring that home and park it in there. There really would be no room in the existing driveway. Absent this additional strip, he'd be back to parking it on the grass, which was not really much of a viable solution for him. And I think it's safe to say, being a cyclist, I would much rather have it parked in the in the driveway as opposed to out in on the curb where, there's a bike lane and all. So
Is there daytime parking on that side of Central?
I don't think, no, I don't think there is.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
a
you have
bus
to get
stop
it
right
off.
there, right?
Yeah. But obviously would be a bit of a hardship if he were required to find another location to park the vehicle.
Fair enough.
So,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Does anybody else like to be heard on the application? Anything that you'd like to add, sir?
I don't.
Could we talk a little bit about, before we close the testimony, talk a little bit about the difference between whether this is a request to park a cruiser or a third vehicle, and whether or not that matters to you?
To me?
Yeah.
No, I think even if I had a third vehicle, I probably would have done the same thing. We wouldn't have 3 personal vehicles.
Well, this is what I'm sensitive to. I'm sensitive to a run of people on Central Avenue, or on Hinckley Road, or on Standish Road, or anywhere, Allerton Road, whatever road we're talking about, saying we've just established a precedent permitting 3 vehicles to be parked on somebody's front lawn. And, traditionally, I think the board's been a little bit concerned about setting precedents like that. We did have a time a while back where we had a lot of front lawns being converted to parking areas, and it resulted in a modification to the bylaw, which is part of why we're here. It's a percentage. So I just want to, you have support, and I just want to drill down on what we're really talking about,
The only reason I did it is because I have a work vehicle. If I didn't have a work vehicle, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, okay, okay. All right, and I wondered if you guys live there. The bus stop is in front of 293, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. And there's a parking lane on the other side of Central, no?
I park in front of my house.
You do?
299 all the
They
time.
pull the bike lane out a little bit?
It's a, yeah. Bike lane's out a little bit.
A little bit, but your car's probably a little bit in the bike lane, because the width's not that great, a little bit. Yeah, it's a tricky place to park though because of the bus, no?
Can't, no, the bus is before my
The bus is
home.
down at my house.
At 293?
Really before, on the corner of Standish and Hinckley, Mr. Gray's house.
Yeah.
Is on Standish, but it fronts out on Hinckley as well, and that's exactly where the bus.
Yeah.
Hinckley Central is across the pond. Turn it
I'm
on.
with you, I got it,
You got it.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I just, it's still a little bit of a tricky spot, you know? Okay, and there's a crosswalk there.
Made trickier by the islands that were put in.
I agree with that, yeah, it is a little tricky, especially when
Very
they were
tricky.
first put in, yeah. Mr. Gray?
Sorry.
Mr. Gray, you may approach.
Go back. May I approach? Their house is substantially past the island
Yeah, yeah.
by several houses.
yeah.
So that part of it is, and the bus stop is.
I just try to get a sense of the
Yeah,
vehicle flow on Central southbound during the day.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we're gonna close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and debate the merits of the application. Therese?
I'm supportive of it. The only concern would be in thinking about the fact that if he was to move, there's a
Right.
car.
I don't plan on moving for a long time.
Right, but
If that helps any.
Yeah.
I know,
You will move someday.
that would be my concern is.
Yeah, that concerns me is about the fact that it's a variance that goes on record and runs with the land. And so if there was a way to put some limit on it, I'd be supportive of it. But I
Yeah.
don't want to have it something that goes for the next 100 years.
Yeah. So we're all aligned here, and I don't know the legality of limiting the use of the variance, but I think the board should try to do so.
Yeah.
And while it is a variance, it does feel to me like it's a variance for the commercial vehicle in the nature of the public safety vehicle, which you otherwise wouldn't have. And I think we'd be having a different discussion if this were a bakery truck or a milkman's truck, or due respect to those professions. The bylaw takes a disfavorable view to those kinds of things. And
Well, we've had just one recently on Adams
that's
Street.
right, that's right.
So,
So I would, in a sense of the board, but I'd like to propose that we support the variance for all the reasons stated, and appreciate the time that your neighbors have come out to support you and your application. And it does sound like it has merit, and I appreciate your apology. That wasn't necessary. We're not, it's not the nature, it's not the, you're going to apologize to other people. The board's not expecting that. We're just here to adjudicate the merits of the matter. But I do think there should be a limitation, and the record and the variance should reflect the fact that this variance is being granted for the purposes of accommodating your work requirements. And I think that the sense of the testimony and the support that you've got really reflects that. And, whether the Court of Appeals or a land court or a Superior Court or the Supreme Judicial Court someday overturns us on that, should we be called on it, we could cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think it's more in the spirit of what this application is all about, for us to condition it on that use, and if you weren't making use of it, for you to have to remove the pavement. And, whether or not you can use the front yard of your vehicle, your front yard of your premises for parking a vehicle is something we'll leave to the building inspector, because what this is really about is about the pavement. So I'd like to propose something and then like that, where should you, whether you move or not, it doesn't matter to us. We hope you stay there many years. But should you stop using the premises for the parking of a police cruiser, whether it be K-9 or, we'll get into that detail, you'll have to just remove the pavement.
Okay.
Okay? And all in favor of a variance along those lines, vote aye?
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations. And, you know, you have a lot of support and good neighbors, and thanks to the neighbors for coming out and talking a little bit about traffic on Central Ave, which is important. So you were here for the other two hearings, so you know how this works. You work with Bev on the report. It'll be a 20-day appeal period. You've already done the work. I don't know they have to do anything else. You know, Mr. Prondak will take notice of it and put it in the file, and you know, you'll want to record the variance, so it'll run with the land. That'll be down at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds in Dedham.
Okay.
And you know, wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, I
Okay, you're
appreciate it.
welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
See you later. Okay, so this Board of Appeals meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Good night.